I told you over a year ago that the only thing this president would have left in the end was race. That's all he would have. And they would do everything they could to start race riots because it's what the Weather Underground said they wanted. And if you look at this agenda of this administration, it's damn near identical to the plan laid out by the Weather Underground. Whether he's using it or not, whether it's just a wild coincidence or not, it doesn't matter. But when you have the Congressional Caucus saying what they have, remember, the Tea Party is code language for old white people. So when you have the Congressional Black Caucus coming out against old white people and saying that they just want to lynch black people, what do you think that's going to do to the uninformed? You think the uninformed are going to stand around and go, hey, they want to lynch a bunch of people. Well, that's great. You're demonizing them. And they're doing it intentionally. The media has done it. They're demonizing and they're destroying any path other than what the president is laying out. And if the president doesn't lay it out, it's like Van Jones said about a year ago, you got to do things, you got to get out in the street, and you have to force this president to do what he knows he has to do. You got it? Now here's Catherine Fung. She wrote for the Huffington Post. Glenn Beck blasted the use of the term African American in favor of black and colored on his radio show on Tuesday. Never did I say that. Never. The headline is, term colored is not a bad thing. Now, they have they put quotation marks around the word colored and not around is, and then around not a bad thing. So the sentence is, term colored is not a bad thing, but colored and not a bad thing are in separate quotes. So that's obviously not what I said, and they know it. Then they say, African American, quote, end quote, no quotes on the word is, and then, quote, ridiculously stupid, end quote. Got it? Those are headlines. Now, what did I say? Glenn Beck blasted the use of African American in favor of black and colored on his radio show on Tuesday. Hey, Amos, can somebody ask Andy if I'm okay with the word colored being used?
I don't remember that segment. That's interesting. I don't remember you advocating that at all.
Really?
And I was here yesterday and everything.
Can you don't happen to have a transcript or a piece of audio, do you?
I have both, which it's the audio is a little bit long. We can go through the transcript. It's probably a little bit more efficient.
Sure, go ahead go through the transcript. By the way, on the Blaze and GBTV, I want a side-by-side comparison of what they said I said, and I want the video. You'll notice on the Huffington Post, they didn't post the video. It's weird because they post video of us all the time. They ain't on this one. Isn't that weird?
I think the audio might be posted, but I mean, they usually do post video. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
This is it, because one of the things they say is ridiculously stupid in quotes,
mm-hmm.
and they say that you're calling the term African American ridiculously stupid. And obviously, to anyone reading a story, they would think you're talking about particularly its use in America.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, what you said is here, Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you feel ridiculously stupid everywhere in Africa, in Europe, in South America, in Jerusalem, when you would say the term African American? Well, it would be weird because they're not Americans. So that your point was that someone who lives in Jerusalem who happens to be black should not be referred to as an African American.
You don't go up to somebody and Pat, I think it was Kenya. You saw a group of, quote, African Americans, end quote, from Kenya in Jerusalem. They're not from America.
Mm.
Wasn't it Kenya?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a group of Christians from Kenya, and we had a conversation.
Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia.
Whatever.
It was an African Christian
right.
group. Yeah.
So they're African Africans.
Yes.
Right. So they act as if you're saying we should stop calling people in America African Americans because it's ridiculously stupid when you're talking about calling someone an American in Africa who's an African citizen.
Well, I do think it's ridiculous to call anybody an if you were calling somebody a South African African, I would think that was ridiculously stupid.
Which,
if you're
of course, you
calling
go
them
on to
a
hit.
German African, I think that's ridiculously stupid because it only applies. What do we have to check everybody's
It
passport?
only applies here. It only applies here.
Or whatever country is doing it. You don't say that that person that person who is white is from Great Britain. Oh, that's a Great Britain
Caucasian.
Caucasian. Yeah, that's a German Caucasian. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. However, it's really ridiculous overseas. And the point of this monologue yesterday was you feel how ridiculous it is when you can't just go up to somebody and say, like you wouldn't anyway, but hey, you're a group of African Americans. You'd never say that, but you can't say that because it's inaccurate.
Right. You're right. And when you're talking about America, you're talking about applying labels for no reason. And
for no reason.
Right. They left this quote out from me from this thing. I've always felt it an insult African American to have some sort of qualifier or special help, some distinction that they're different than us. They are Americans. They are 100% American. They deserve every right. Well, that did seem to fit the little motif of their article,
no,
so
it sure
was
didn't.
Just left out.
I'm sure Catherine Fung is just a brilliant journalist who is very, very fair. So when exactly did I say that the term African American was ridiculously stupid, and I was in favor of using black or colored instead?
Oh, yeah. The colored thing is interesting because you didn't say that either. Let's see if I can find the exact spot here. Here he goes. Here goes. You're talking again about how it's weird because we think we're supposed to call, because to be politically correct, you're supposed to call every person who's black African American, yet when you're in Jerusalem and they're not American, it makes no sense. And I say, well, what are you supposed to say? Pat says, I don't know. Then Glenn says, black? And Glenn says, African British? And then Glenn says, black again. And I say, I guess, maybe just like white, being the opposite. And then you say it's black in South America, in South Africa, it's black and colored. And I don't remember the difference, but there's a difference. Now, you're not advocating for the use of colored in America.
I'm explaining what's happening in Africa, in South Africa.
Which was a term that was used in America, by the way, and was perfectly acceptable at the time. These terms change, and they pretend like it's been consistent forever.
Excuse me, but I do not believe
African Americans.
I'm not standing up for South America South Africa and apartheid by any stretch of the imagination, which I know they're going to try to do. Not standing up for it in any. I stand against it. It was evil. It was evil. Period. However, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe I am, Pat, but I believe they still use those two terms because they are talking about something different. They have classified the people who live. You want to talk about how ridiculous it is? They've classified people who are black into two different categories, black and colored. I don't know what the difference is, but they're doing the same damn thing.
Right, you're expressing their cultural distinctions, not advocating.
Not advocating.
And these are the cultural distinctions as explained to the person who was in the room with you. I heard her speaking this and explaining this to you guys. The difference, the person from South Africa who was helping us with the radio station. This is not something you made up.
Now, you have to ask yourself, why did Catherine Fung and the Huffington Post write this and allow this to run? Why? The only reason is to smear and discredit in every. These people who read the Huffington Post, they don't know who I am. They don't listen to who I am. I have to tell you, I was in South Africa. I was surprised that anybody even knew my name. You would not believe the amount of hate that people had towards me. Why? They couldn't even tell you. They would tell you half-truths and everything else, and when I finished speaking, they all said, my gosh, that's nothing. Like, is it really? Isn't that strange? Isn't that strange? It's almost like somebody who has billions of dollars is running a smear campaign. And everybody on the left who wants their little socialist utopia is running a smear campaign. You must stand for the truth. You must stand and know that you could be destroyed by your stance. I don't care. Put me out of business. I don't care. I'll stand on the street corner. I'll wear a sandwich sign. I'll speak if you throw me in jail, I'll continue to speak. Over and over and over again, let me tell you, I will not sit down. I won't be intimidated, I won't be bullied, and neither will the American people. We're tired of it. We are good, decent people. We are firm when people are crooks, when they're stealing from the people. We don't believe in this system that it's clean anymore, neither Republican nor Democrat. We do believe that Americans can be good and come together no matter what their race is, no matter what their political party is. People can come together, and they are coming together. And the powerful and the elite are doing everything they can to stand in the way and discredit anyone who tries to tell the truth. You don't like my opinion? That's fine. It's still America. I have a right to my opinion, and you have a responsibility to tell the truth. You have a responsibility to tell the truth, and you have a right to your opinion. I have a responsibility to back your opinion or your ability to say that opinion. I have a responsibility to protect your voice. You have a responsibility to protect mine. Ask yourself, Catherine Fung. Ask yourself, Huffington Post, why are you not running the story of the people who are now plotting to stand in the streets and shut our country down? You said it was a problem. You said it was a problem when the Tea Party, when you lied about the Tea Party. It was a huge problem. Why are you not telling that story now? Which one has an agenda? Because I got news for you. I see somebody who's a racist. I see somebody who's trying to take our country apart from the inside and destroy it, destroy our Constitution. I don't care if they're members of the Tea Party. I don't care if they're members of communism. It doesn't matter. I'll expose them. Why won't you? I ask that question, and every American should ask that question of the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Huffington Post, Fox News, CNN, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, me, everyone. Every American should be asking the questions. Why are some things covered and other things aren't? Why is there a double standard? Why? You can say we don't focus on it. It doesn't fit the storyline that we're working on because we do business. We're the Wall Street Journal. We only do business. We're Mediaite. We only cover the media, so we don't cover politics. Whatever it is, some excuses may last a little while, but the American people are already seeing through you. They're already seeing through you. You don't even know. You're so arrogant and so lost, you don't even know your time is coming to an end. And there's not going to need to be a revolution. People will just tune you out. I may not be around to see it, but it's coming. It's coming.